Right here. This is Ironman training with POTS and type 1 diabetes, week 8. Let's go. This week it was 3 runs for 18 miles. Oh, yeah. 2 bike rides for 80 miles, and then 2 swims for 4,500 yards. Let's go. So this week turned out to be a bit of a down week, but it wasn't by intention. This week started out great. Monday, I hit 2,000 yards in the pool, all drills. I felt good. I was coming off a nice recovery run from Sunday evening. And then Tuesday morning, got up, had a great 90 minutes on the bike, did about 25 miles. I had added extra tailwind, so I had 2 scoops of tailwind for 50 grams of carbs. And I seemed to manage my blood sugar better, not only throughout the ride, but throughout the day. I also didn't notice the crazy sweating just as much as I had in other rides either. So I wanted to start stepping it up, get some power beneath me. So I did intervals. I did 2 minutes on, 3 minutes off, or 40 minutes with a warm up and a cool down on either side for an hour and a half and about 25 miles total. But then came Wednesday. I woke up Wednesday morning with a really tight chest, but it was hard to breathe. And then so really all the muscles of the intercostal muscles, I don't know if I said that right, but everything hurt. I went for a run. I was immediately potsy. This sucked. Very terrible run. Very potsy. Heart rate was jacked. I was running about 14-minute miles in zone 2. I have no idea how much sweat I lost. So I ran for 90 minutes, 7.4 miles. I'm gonna guess at least 6, 7, maybe 8 pounds. And I felt like I was having a heart attack. Seriously, like straight up panic attack almost the whole time. And it was that way almost since I got up today. So that's POTS. And I can see the difference because I've had some good runs lately. By the end of that run, I felt like I was in a crash. I was exhausted. I was totally fatigued. Also, my left ankle took a beating. So Wednesday was a rough day. And then I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I couldn't drink without being in significant amounts of pain in my chest. So then come Thursday morning, I skipped working out altogether. I was supposed to bike. I just didn't want to irritate it any more than I already did. I was afraid of missing out on big efforts from swimming and from biking this weekend. So I took Thursday off, woke up yesterday, which was Friday, to do a run. I just decided to do a 1-hour recovery, just skip whatever was in the programming. And again, it was very potsy. It wasn't as bad as Wednesday, but it was, I was drenching sweat. Just felt like my muscles weren't activating. My heart rate was jacked, so I was running like a 13-minute pace up in the recovery zone. But then I went and hit the pool, and I think that was a little dangerous because I didn't know necessarily how I injured myself and how not to re-injure it. But I ended up doing 2,500 yards in the pool. I did just 200 yards of warm up. And I decided I was just going to do it until it hurt. If it felt bad at all, I would stop. But then I did 1,500 yards continuous, which is my longest of this cycle. And then I did a couple sets of like 200, 250 yards. So I ended up doing 2,500 yards of the pool, which is my greatest distance that I've done ever. And then I feel better. I feel better today. I feel at least 90%, maybe 100. So we got up early, got up on the bike, took it up to the Suncoast Parkway Trail, Suncoast Trail, whatever it is called, and then did about just under 53 miles in just under 3 hours. All right, let's talk blood sugar. So I ate lunch today. I had a sandwich. I had some caramel popcorn. I had some chips. And then my blood sugar was about 265. And right before I got into the pool, about 20 minutes before I got into the pool, I had a honey stinger waffle. And then, so by the time I was in the pool, my blood sugar was 275 and rising. By the time I had finished about 1,700 yards, it was 146 and dropping quickly. And I had to take another honey stinger gel so that I could complete the workout. So I don't know. I might need to be going into the pool, into the swim with like a blood sugar level of 400 and going up. And I don't know. I don't want to have a heart attack here, but we'll see. I still also have more time for my fitness to improve, for my skill to improve, and to adapt. So all those things will continue to play factors. However, I am of course concerned. I need to be going into the bike, being able to fuel during that time. As it is, when I run a marathon, I mean, I'm finishing the marathon with low blood sugar, especially after mile 20. I'm not keeping up, and I can put all the gels in my body that I want, but it ends up being a struggle. So I need to be able to fuel during the bike. Now, some other factors come race day. I will not take my long-lasting insulin the day before at all. It's only week 8, so I still have more time to adapt, to improve, and also to learn from other athletes. There's other diabetics that I've begun to follow. There doesn't seem to be a magic pill. Everyone seems to have a regimen that works for them. So, perhaps I'll find another fuel substitute in addition to the honey stinger that might be slower acting, and then take both. So I have things kind of working in the background as well. Still learning. As tough as it was for me to swallow, not working out when I went into that crash was probably the best thing that I did. That's the scary thing about POTS, is it can show up whenever the fuck it wants. And now that I know, and now that I'm more aware, it's obvious to me that that particular injury triggered this POTS reaction, these POTS symptoms, which in turn actually then triggered diabetic reaction, where my insulin sensitivity was reduced, and I had high blood sugar for about a day and a half as well. So all those things, and that of course impacts sleep, which of course can trigger the POTS, and then we have this vicious cycle. So I was right to dial back. Also, I did focus, really on the recovery, as if I had just been through something, because my body doesn't know the difference. That's the thing about POTS, is nothing really bad happened, but my body didn't know that. It triggered fight or flight, and so I needed to recover from the thing that never actually happened. I mean, there is a part of me that is still computing this whole thing, and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get the swim. And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be all excited and crush the bike. And then I have to run a fucking marathon. Like, my brain is still having a hard time wrapping around this concept that after all that, I still have a marathon. I mean, Philippidis did that shit and died, all right? And he didn't have to swim and bike first. So I guess that's the barrier. That's what I need to punch through. That's what I need to break through. Not the marathon, but the mindset of being afraid of the marathon or limiting myself in this race. I need to start telling myself the story where, of course, I can run a marathon after doing all those things. I am a person who is capable of completing a marathon after doing all those things. In fact, I'm gonna feel the best I've ever felt at the start of that marathon, because it's almost never about the miles. It's always about the mindset. All right, we're actually wrapping up the week with the Gasparilla 8K, 5 miles knocked out today. I had the pleasure of doing this race with my wife today, and got to use it as an opportunity for some recovery work. Got to see my good friend Chainsaw Rick and Jan, and then I actually ran into an old friend of mine from high school, Gordon, who was completing his 4th race of the weekend. Fitness events are great and all, but it's a lot better when you get to build your tribe, when you get to build your community, and when you're allowed to share these things with other people. Now, the part I left out about my bike ride yesterday was the fact that I crashed. I had an accident. It was my own fault. Well, kind of. I had the light to cross the road. I was crossing the road. Some asshole comes banging off the off-ramp from the highway, makes no effort to slow down or stop. In fact, he guns it through the light. I saw this, so I hit the brakes, had plenty of time to stop. It's really not as dramatic as I'm making it sound, but I forgot I was clipped in. So I stopped the bike, and then all of a sudden I go, oh shit, and didn't quite have a chance to unclip, and then down I went. So bruised up my elbow a little bit, just a couple, looks like I ran a Spartan race, that's all. And that was around mile 17. The bike was all right. We got up, got after it. My A1C remains about the same. It's about 7.2, 7.3, and I've seen mild fluctuations, mild improvements, and then we revert back. I'm doing a good job of, I'm requiring less insulin, but then balancing it continues to be the problem. Last night as an example, I eat dinner, an hour into dinner, my blood sugar's down to like 63, 64, continuing to drop. So I start eating some sugar, and then I go to bed, and then after 11 o'clock, it spikes to over 400. So I am learning, I am adapting, I am using less fuel, I am using less insulin. So those are all good things. I have lost weight, that's for sure. I can even see it and feel when I wear my tri-suit. I don't feel like I'm bulging out of this thing, busting out of this thing as much as I was before. I haven't weighed myself in over a week, but I'm gonna guess 183 to 185. So I'm definitely down anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. And that's not sweat loss, that's actual weight. Even though incidentally this was a down week, I learned a lot this week. I learned a lot about POTS. I learned about what can trigger it. I learned to know when it's happening. And I learned to know that I need to let it recover. This whole thing is a learning experience. Everything about Ironman, everything about endurance, everything about fitness is about learning your body, learning how to overcome obstacles one step at a time. 83 days till Ironman Jacksonville. Let's go. Live inspired.